Hey, it's David. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the Doxie Q. And the only disclaimer I have is that I have no disclaimers. I'm obviously not sponsored anyway, spent my own money for this. I think I paid right about $200 from Amazon for this. And the reason I bought this is as my wife and I have done more and more traveling, we've come to the conclusion that we prefer to have more and more of these kinds of experiences and less actual stuff in the house, which, as you can see behind me, we still got a long way to go. So, but in the course of that endeavor, to start trying to minimize some of the clutter we have around the house, one of the things we wanted to focus on early on was starting to reduce the amount of paper and receipts and old, printed photos and things like that that we have piling up in various little places. So we like to eliminate that. After doing some research, one of the things that seemed to be a good fit was this Doxie Q. And basically it's a wireless rechargeable document scanner. It happens to have an automatic sheet feeder on it, as shown on the back here. And that's different than the Doxie Go, which is basically the same scanner without the sheet feeder option, as far as I can tell. It's a little cheaper too. But, for 200 bucks, if this does everything we hope that it'll do, it's probably a good investment. So that's what we're going to find out. So let's open this thing up and see what we get in the box. So, got actually a very high quality quick start guide. It's actually made of some kind of like a plastic laminate of some kind. And we've got a scanning reference guide with the basic, kind of a basic outline of the controls on the scanner. This looks to be a series of protective sleeves, I think, that you get with this for documents that are maybe delicate. Could be photos or things that have odd shapes or edges to them. You can put them in here and scan them without damaging the item that you're scanning. And let's see here. Got your usual, looks like a battery for the recharge and the power connectors if you want to plug it in. Got a standard USB cable, looks like. Yeah, it's got the original micro USB 2.0 connector on it. Oh, I didn't realize this, but it comes with an 8 gigabyte SD card. I didn't know that, but I knew that the unit will take an SD card, which is nice because apparently you don't have to even hook this up to a computer. When you're scanning, it'll save all the scans to the card, and then you can take the card, put it into your computer, or wirelessly connect to the unit from your computer, and then organize your scans. So we'll take a look at the software a little bit later in the video and see how that looks. Seems like it's well packed, a little bit hefty, but very compact. I would say it weighs about 3 pounds maybe, if I had to guess. So it's very small, a little bit bigger than twice the size of a cardboard paper towel roll. So looks very cool. Like the top flips over and you can open up the document feeder. I chose the document feeder version because I've got a lot of bills and things that I might not necessarily want to throw away. And so what I wanted to do is put a stack of, say, electric bills or something in here and have them just feed through, and then I can staple them in the software so they appear as one document, for the whole year, for example, rather than sitting here and feeding one sheet in at a time. So looks very compact. Got to put those down. All right, so looks like there's a note, getdoxie.com/DoxieQ. It says get started, download the software. So it looks like they want me to download the software online. So there's a spot on the back right here to put in the SD card. Looks like it's very easy to clear jams. It actually looks like it's going to stay put. It's got nice rubber feet, so it's not going to slide around on you. And it's something I can set on top of the file cabinet next to my work desk upstairs. And once I get everything archived in my network storage, I can then stay on top of things really easily with the scanner very handy. So I actually have a network flatbed scanner on a multifunction printer down here, hooked to the network, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to come up and down and, manually feed documents in there. So if it's a pain in the butt, I probably won't do it. So if it's easy and a no-brainer, I'd probably stick with it. So that's sort of the thinking behind this particular little guy. So let me charge this up, and then I'll be back, and we can take a look at how it scans. And then after we do that, we'll take the results of some of those test scans, and we'll look at them on the computer and see how they turned out. I'm particularly interested to find out how well it senses the size of documents, as well as how well it does with photographs. So we'll see. Back in a bit. All right, we are back. I don't think I actually have to recharge the battery or initially charge the battery. I think the battery comes with an initial charge from the factory. So we're going to check and see if that's true. I did bring some sample documents that I'm going to attempt to scan here. Some photos of different sizes, including a panoramic. This will not be a good quality test, however, because this particular panorama was taken with one of those cheapo cameras, so it's already of questionable image quality as it is. But anyway, I mentioned earlier that I thought in one of the bags that when I opened the box came with the battery, but it is in fact not the battery. It's actually the AC adapter and the USB cable that go with that. Now it comes with a universal AC adapter, and as you can see, it actually comes with several different international style plugs. So I got the kind of the standard European one. I know they use this in Italy. So that's pretty handy. So if you are a heavy traveler or you're from another country, it looks like you already are probably covered as far as the type of plug adapter you might need. So I'm going to use the standard US connector, and now we're going to see what we need. I'm not going to actually plug it in because I don't think I need to. So when I open the panel here, it does give me some information, and the quick reference guide is pretty helpful. So the first thing it does is it tells you to dispose of this orange tape here. But to get to that, I think I need to actually peel this open a little further. Kind of looks like that. So pull up the orange tape. There's a little notice on this as well. Open the inner panel and pull the tab from the battery. So let's see what that does. So it says squeeze the two tabs. Looks like these guys right here. It opens up that. Okay, so there's 1, 2, and then 3 doors. And it looks like the battery itself is tucked down in here. It's almost like a cell phone battery. We can activate that by pulling the red tab. So it's just a plastic membrane to keep the contacts from making contact. All right, so we got that out. Now I should be able to close the inner panel. Make sure it's all the way down. Close the top panel, and I think we're ready to turn this thing on. Now the power switch is located on the left side here. The power switch does feel a little bit flimsy, I will say that. The rest of it feels very well built and solid. So the LCD came on, and it says that the format is currently set to JPEG. So I'd use that for photos probably. And the DPI is set to 300. I believe this unit maxes out at 600 DPI. So I'm going to change it to 600 just for kicks. Turn this around and read this. It does look like, looking at from the front of the unit, it looks like I feed photos and receipts, cards, fragile items. It says turn the Doxie around, insert paper face down, and align with the left arrow of the direct feed slot. So it looks like for photos and stuff, I would probably close the document feeder part, right? And then I would feed those on the left side, which would be right there, the direct feed slot. So we'll see. It looks like that may cut into our maximum size for photos is probably something like 8 by 10, if I had to guess. You can choose PDF or JPEG, so I'm going to keep it at JPEG. Then I'm going to try feeding a photo in. Turn this back around. Try feeding a photo. I'm going to just face down, I think I said. That's what I recall reading. So let's see what happens. All right. So this is sort of a standard 4x6 type photo. This is kind of a 3.5 by 7, a little bit more of a like a 16 by 9 type format. So not sure if that comes out. We'll try scanning that, see what that does. I think you have to take some care to try to get the photo perpendicular to the feed so that it doesn't go in crooked. Although I believe you can correct that in the software. Let's try this guy. All right, so that's not bad. For 600 DPI, that's actually a faster photo scan than I was expecting. I thought it would creep along a little bit slower than that. Let's switch the format. I'm going to try to do the document feeder and test that guy. For that, I don't want JPEG, I want PDF. And I really don't need 600 DPI. 300 DPI is more than enough for this kind of bills. These are just gas and electric bills. So I'm going to use the document feeder for that. I'm not sure how many documents I can put in here at a time. Let me see if I can figure that out from the card. All right, so the document feeder can handle up to 8 sheets of regular printing paper. So for thicker paper like resume or cardstock, you might end up with 3 or 4 sheets. So only 8 sheets at a time. That's actually not quite as helpful as I would like, but I'm going to give that a shot. So it looks like these need to go face down. I'm just going to grab a stack and say, yeah, that feels about like 8 sheets. I'm going to need to put the guides up and spread them out. I'm going to want to put that upside down and then tighten these up. Looks like they are geared toward each other, so you can move one and the other one will fall into place. So that feels about right. And I just set it up against there. So when you're using the direct feed slot, not the document feeder, you don't have to press the scan button. But when you're using the document feeder, it gives you a chance to sort of line everything up. And then you press the scan button. Let's see how it works. Yeah. So I'm not sure I got this in all the way. Let me actually count the pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's kind of like standard weight paper, but it didn't take it. So I don't think I'm overloading this thing. Oh, there's actually a little bit of give. So when you put the paper in, there's a little bit of resistance right there, and you actually have to push the paper past another 1/4 inch or so, it seems. So let's give that a shot. By the way, I did already put in the SD card, the 8 GB SD card that came with it. So let's try seeing if this works. So, all right, so that's not the intended behavior. Obviously, it took all 6 pages at once. That is not at all what I wanted. So, perhaps what you have to do, let's try this again. Maybe the first one needs to go in. Well, go ahead and try to put the other ones in. I'm not sure. Maybe if I try a couple, let's see. So that was a fail. Strike 2. Let's see how that works. All right, so I didn't put it all the way in. I just put it to where it first met resistance, and it does appear to be taking 2 pages at a time. So that's encouraging. So let's try. This is 4 pages. Let's see if we can do it with 4 pages. All right, so again, not pushing it all the way in like I did initially, just where it touches. All right, so that's working. And this is obviously not a duplex scanner, but that's okay. Most of the stuff on the back side of these documents I don't really care about. And what I'm hoping to be able to do is go into the software, which we'll take a look at next. I'm hoping to be able to pull up these scans off of the memory card, import them into the software, and then be able to use the software functionality that they give you to simply sort of select the scans that you want to group together. And so instead of having 12 or 15 individual PDF documents, you can group them all into a single PDF document. So it looks like when you put more than just a few pages in here, you kind of have to make sure the bottom page gets a little bit of a coaxing to get it going all the way through. So it does seem to be a little finicky. I can hear the motor trying to grab it. So that's not ideal. Frankly, if I have to do this every other sheet of paper, it's not much better than getting the one without the document feeder, because having to do this, I might as well hand feed them one at a time. All right, so there's our documents. So I would so far rate the ease of use pretty good, except for the automatic document feeder. It seems to require a lot of manual coaxing to actually work. This is somewhat thick paper, I will say, but you know, I didn't feed at any point in time any more than really 4 pages at a time, and I still almost always had to at least coax the very last page through. So minor inconvenience, but a little disappointing given the reviews, or at least the ratings on this. This is 4.5 stars on Amazon. So so the next step is I need to go download the software and import. I'm going to try importing from the memory card and see how that goes. And I will take you along with me, and we'll see if that's an easy thing or not. All right, so here we are. Per the instructions that are on that label on top of the Doxie Q, I typed in getdoxie.com/Doxie Q, and it redirects me to that URL with a help subdomain at the front. So it's a Doxie Q page. I'm going to go ahead and choose the Doxie for Windows link here and save that into my downloads, Doxie setup. That didn't take very long, so now let's go ahead and install that application. And I will take the defaults and install that guy. Judging from the files flying by there, it looks like they have OCR for multiple languages. We'll go ahead and say launch Doxie and finish. I will pretend like I read all the legal mumbo jumbo and click agree. And select the Doxie Q from the list. I'm in the Doxie software. Looks like you tell it the target of where you're going to import from. The Doxie Q has built-in Wi-Fi that you can activate with a long press on the scan button. And then you attach your computer or your phone directly to the scanner's Wi-Fi access point. I don't really feel like doing that, so I'm just taking the SD card out of the scanner. I put it in a little card reader on my computer, and it comes up and assigns an F drive to it. But it's got the name Doxie SD, and as you can see, the Doxie software already found it. So even though I have multiple drives accessible on my machine, it seems to know which one has the Doxie stuff. So it says ready to import new scans. I know that this is the SD card that I took out, so I'll just click import and see what it brings in. So it looks like the import process could take a while if you've scanned a lot of things. So I probably had something in the neighborhood of maybe 30 documents that I scanned earlier. And it looks like that's going to take a couple of minutes to do. This would be a good opportunity to go get something to drink. All right, now it shows me all the documents in my setup. The photos obviously came across as individual photos. The other documents, it grouped them into multiple documents in a single file based on how many pages I had stacked. So when the first one failed and just imported the first document with 6 pieces of paper in the feeder, I'm going to go ahead and delete that off of there because I don't think I need it. The second try, I only did 2 sheets, and it took 2 sheets. And so I have 2 grouped here. And then I did more and more after that, so I have 4, 4, 4, and a couple of singles, and 3. So all these bills here are all the same. So what I'm going to do is see if I can select multiple ones. I'm holding the control key down and just clicking all of those bills. And I think I click the staple button here, and it turns all those into one PDF document. So the little arrow allows you to reorient your document. Looks like it rotates it a little at a time until you get it the way you want. If I click this one, I'm going to preview it. And actually, that's not bad. Now, the actual photo is clearly a little bit sharper than that, but it's not a great photo to begin with. But it'll do for archiving purposes. This one is probably even worse because this was done with like a disposable camera, as I recall. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, very grainy, as I would expect. So I think I can take all of these and just say save. Oh, it looks like I have to do them one at a time. So I will click this one, and I have a mirrored RAID setup. So I'm going to save this as a PDF. I don't need OCR. I need to go access my archive file. All right, so this is a RAID 1 mirrored drive that I have on my network. So I'll go into Document Library. I'll put that in Bills. I think this is 2017, and I will call this Gas Electric and save. So now that will automatically get mirrored onto 2 archive disks. Not that my electric bills are that critical, but there they are. There's a send button. I'm not sure what that does. Let's see. If I wanted to edit these photos, I could click on one, say this one for example, and send it to Microsoft Paint or some other program that I've designated, I assume. So maybe if I go under Preferences, Local Apps, I assume I could add an app. Right now Paint is the only one here. So if I use Photoshop or something like that, I assume that I could add it to this list, and then maybe set one as a default, and then send documents directly from here over to Photoshop. May or may not be helpful. So that's pretty cool. So it looks like this is just a slider to zoom in. Let me stretch this out. I'm not going to click the full screen button because I have an ultra wide monitor, and if I go full screen you won't be able to see some of the actual window. So I have the slider down here that allows me to increase the thumbnails to make them a little bit easier to look at. Just looking through here, I can delete some saved scans, set up a new Doxie. Like there's some decent help files here. I can update firmware from here as well. Manually import scans. Okay. So I can select a folder of scans. So if I drag this from the SD card, say, to another location just for staging, I could later process those manually by pulling them off another drive. I've heard rave reviews about the software, and it is very straightforward. I think what I would say about the software is that it's simple and very easy to use. I would not say it's got a ton of features, because with more features probably comes more complexity. So they've kept it very simple. I think it probably has everything that I need. Looks like it did a pretty good job of sensing the different sizes of the items that I scanned. And so it, sensed the edges, so I don't have any like white space that I have to crop. So that's nice. I didn't try any oddly shaped items. So far with standard rectangles, it's doing a really good job. All right, so where does that leave us? I've got a sort of mixed feelings about the scanner. On one hand, I find that the Doxie Q is a very nice, convenient, compact, mobile, wireless scanner. And I can't deny the fact that it is really handy to be able to scan to an SD card without being tethered to the computer. So you can take this anywhere and scan whatever it is you need to scan. If you have to go to the library and scan some things, for example, take it to the office to scan some things if you needed to. Maybe you're visiting your parents and you want to go scan some old photos, just so you have a copy and you can share with other people. This would be a really easy and convenient way to do that. And the photo quality, I think, is acceptable. I think if you were looking to scan some old photos with the intent to blow them up in enlargements at some point in the future, this is probably not the scanner for you. But if you just want them for archive purposes, to be able to jog memories and take the stroll down memory lane through the old photo album, I think it's perfectly acceptable for that. One complaint that I have really is that the automatic document feeder that the Doxie Q model brings to the table versus the Doxie Go. The Doxie Go does not have this feature. But even as documented in the materials that come with the unit, it says that it only handles up to 8 pages at a time. That's not a tremendous advantage, and it does cost $20 or $22, I think, difference between the Doxie Go without the document feeder, and so you pay that premium, small as it is, for the Doxie Q. My purpose for getting the automatic document feeder was for taking a stack of utility bills or whatever and just dropping them in there and then walking away. That's clearly not how I'm able to use this scanner, unless there's another trick to it that I find online. But assuming that there's not some other trick that I haven't figured out, you really can't walk away. And 8 pages is pushing it. This is not particularly heavy cardstock or anything like that. It's just typical sort of 20-pound printer paper, from what I could tell. And I never did more than like 5 sheets at a time. And even still, I constantly had to babysit it and sort of, tweak one of the pages here and there and give it a push to help it along. And then the feeder would grab it and move on. So it might do 3 or 4 pages at a time. Almost always the last page in the stack did not get grabbed by the feeder. So it does require some babysitting. So if I were buying this all over again and having the document feeder was a nice to have but not a need to have, then I would say I would definitely go with a Doxie Go instead of the Doxie Q. Save yourself the $20 because this is of limited value. I mean, as it is, I can still feed single documents in the back just like with pictures, and I can basically use it as I would a Doxie Go. Since it is only $20, I'm not going to waste my time and try to return this and then get the other one in exchange. And save $20 that way. I'll just make do with it. It does do multiple pages sometimes. So, but once I get my stacks of paper clutter much better organized, initially scanned, maintaining that paper clutter on a go-forward basis will be much easier. And I won't typically be scanning a bunch of documents at one time. So one at a time is probably going to be more than sufficient. So bottom line, if an automatic document feeder is an important prerequisite to your scanner purchase, I would look elsewhere, possibly with one of the Fujitsu or maybe the Epson, maybe a Brother dedicated document scanner. I think you'd probably do much better there, but you're going to pay a little bit more money, and they're typically not as mobile. For what it does, it is good. The software is not the be-all, end-all of scanning software, but keeping it simple and not overcomplicating things with a bunch of features you may not even be interested in. For what it does, I think it's a good device, and hopefully have enough information that you can go decide if it's right for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.